The Colour Matrix. World 18. The Royal Blue Ranger's friend she didn't know she had. After my workout and eating a breakfast fit for a king, I returned to the console. The cluster of universes linked to the morphing grid still enticed me. I saw Mark had left said cluster to a unique universe, which had elements similar to the morphing grid or that of the Common Riders. I sent a message to Spark letting him know that there's another unique universe, possible multiverse, and I could sense a hint of mystery energy. I assumed it was William Cranston or Takeshi. After alerting Sparks to said universe, I went back to Mark and found the universe he had just left. Looked like he went back to Universe 20, his home universe, then went to a universe in question. I sent the universe to the Matrix and stripped off my shirt, and I laid down and the needles penetrated the back of my neck and my fingertips. Then I lost the powers to keep my eyes open and drifted off into some form of slumber as Daisy read me my vital signs. I opened my eyes and looked around. I flexed out my claws and my tail swished back and forth. I was a gecko, small, blue and green, shimmered through my scales. I sat on the side of a rather large tree, soaking up the sunlight. A bird flew overhead, flying around in circles above me. I closed my eyes and my scales rippled and changed colour, allowing me to blend in with the colours of the bark. I became one with the dark brown trunk. The bird circled a few more times, then it flew off. I let out a long sigh as my scales returned to their natural colour. I scaled up the trunk and scurried onto one of the almighty thick branches, and I sat there and bathed in the sun, and then suddenly a strange swirly light reappeared. The tall, tailless female would return to the neighbouring field often. She would step out of the swirly light, and it was like how I imagined the blinking lights in the sky when the sun went to sleep, and the moon took its place. The tall, tailless female jumped out of the swirly lights, and then it disappeared again. The tall, tailless female dropped to her knees and let out a blood-curdling screech. She often did that when she returned. I assumed it was because there was nothing big or loud like her to return the noise or to threaten her or eat her. She would often collect broken twigs and collect them into a pile just to set them on fire. I liked fire. It was strange. It was beautiful. It moved like a stream behind the trees. It grew once it had more twigs to cling onto. The tall, tailless woman sat there watching the fire swish around like my telly would. I watched high within the tree. Suddenly a ghostly form appeared and sat next to her. "You're taking too long," the ghostly form growled. "I'm working on it." The woman tall tailless snapped back. "Nephis, do not take that tone with me. Without me, you'd be nothing." The ghostly form barked back, his voice echoed throughout the field. "I'm doing the best I can, okay? That is all I can offer." The tall tailless woman muttered back. "Your best is not enough," the ghostly form retorted, then it faded away. "Screw you," the female muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. The nights drew on and she ended up falling asleep. I sat there and watched her. I felt like I should have kept guard in case something attacked her. Even though she would more likely be able to kill anything that wanted to attack her, she was a tall tailless that I didn't know. She more than likely didn't know I even existed either. I fell asleep on the branch. When I woke up, I saw that she had disappeared. More than likely through the swirly light thing again. She often did that as well. I spent the next few days by myself, scurrying through the tree branches. I found myself a small river-like stream, and I swam and bathed for a while, allowing the cold water to embrace my scales, when suddenly I heard it, the sound of the swirly lights again. I scurried out of the shallow stream and ran through the leaves. I jumped up onto the almighty thick tree trunk once again and scurried onto my branch, and I hung over the field, and there was no sign of the female tall tailless. Instead of the singular female, there was 4 male tall tailless. I inched my way down the tree trunk as slowly as possible. When one of them looked at me, directly at me, I panicked and I ran as fast as I could and scurried away, out of sight of the 4 scary-looking males. I peeked through the small bush and I watched as the female tall tailless appeared. I sighed with relief. Then after they exchanged some words filled with anger and rage, they all changed. They had grown new clothes that covered them from head to toe. No skin could be seen. The female was in a nice blue colour, whilst all the 4 males were covered in red. The males started fighting the female. I kept myself hidden, away from the fight, only peeking on the fight every now and then. But eventually, the female Tortalis escaped, and though through another spiraling light, she managed to escape, and I sighed with relief once more. Then the 4 males removed their fancy clothes, and the 4 of them were outraged, and had a tone of frustration to them. They eventually left, and once again, I was alone. 7 weeks later, I had seen 49 night skies, and the female Tortalis had returned a few times. Sometimes she had this devilish grin on her face. Sometimes she was upset and furious, moulded into one emotion, and after 49 nights, she had stopped returning altogether. No more swirling lights, no more emotional Tortalis female, and no more watching her by the fire. It was strange, because she was like a friend of mine. I would like to have thought she saw me at some point, maybe considered me more of a friend, maybe considered me a being of normalcy for her, but she never came round ever again. I sat there in the tree all alone. Every now and then I defended myself from the flapping birds, those goddamn rats that wanted me for dinner, but that was it. Eventually I just closed my eyes and I slept through the sunshine, bathing in the glory heat, and everything went black. I woke up and my mind felt like it was stretched in and out of my skull. Ow, I muttered as I clutched my head.
Sir, you do not wait for my description. I would have warned you that you are about to have an insight in the mind of an animal.
Daisy told me. Yeah, I didn't think about that, okay? I snapped back. I stumbled over to the console and I sat there and watched as Mark left a cluster of the morphing grid fused universes and entered what had been dubbed as the Universe. Suddenly a portal opened behind me. I stood up, my eyes turned white and started glowing, and I turned towards the portal as Mr. Pocket walked out. He threw several fireballs at me. I dodged 2 of them, but the third one hit me in the chest. It stung for a mere second, but my mystery abilities kept the pain at a bare minimum. Hello, Ace, Mr. Pocket chuckled. What are you doing here, Pocket? I snapped as I held my hand up to my singed clothes, and they were repaired in a shimmer of white. As you know, Mark the Cornish Ranger is a defender, one of those who would defend the multiverse when Sparks runs out of champions, Mr. Pocket stated. Yes, and your point being? I asked, ignoring the hammering in my skull. Do not get involved, Mr. Pocket snapped with a threatening tone. You don't want me to hijack your ace in that universe right now, do you? I replied. No. I'm testing my champions, and Mark is a big part of it. I do not need you getting involved. Understood? Mr. Pocket sneered. Yes, Pocket, understood. I shall continue exploring the universes that Mark has an effect on once he leaves your universe. Okay? I told him. Good. And if I get a small whiff of you in my universe in the next few days, I will come here, remove you from that matrix, and God hope I'm nice about it. Mr. Pocket growled. I gave him a cocky smile, and Mr. Pocket then walked through the portal and it closed behind him. I slumped back in my chair and I turned to the console. I then placed my head into my hand and wished for the hammering just would ease ever so slightly as I watched the Red Cornish Ranger stationed in the universe. I then turned my attention to another universe for now, at least until Mark was ready to carry on with his adventures.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the 3 Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by 3 cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Ty Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channel, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerbrostudios.com.